Namaste, and welcome to our continuing series on the human cycle with our beloved Kittu Reddy. Namaste. We are on chapter 21, the spiritual aim and life.
I'll first give you a broad idea, then we'll read certain paragraphs. See, first of all, I'll introduce the book once again, Human Cycle. The speciality of the human cycle is that he studies sociology from the psychological point of view, not from the external events and circumstances, but from the psychological point of view. And there he says that society passes through 5 psychological stages: symbolic, typal, conventional, individualistic or rational, and subjective. Do I need to explain briefly?
Please.
See, we are all very symbolic here in the ashram. And in India, we are very symbolic. See, we carry mother's ring, people wear this, etc., right? In the West, it's a little less. And especially after the 16th, 17th century, when they became rational, they threw out religion. So, automatically that's symbolic. Then after some time, in the Vedic age, was highly symbolic. And that is why to understand the Vedas, if you do not understand the symbols, you can miss everything. For example, when they speak about the cow, symbol of light. But for the average man, it was the cow, and that is why the cow is such a cherished and precious animal in India, because it symbolizes light. The average man didn't understand all that deeper thing, but he said the Vedic rishis, therefore, right? The horse was power, right? The sun was dawn. So this was the way by which then gradually the symbols recede a little bit and you fall into a type, right? And then these types become mechanical. Then it becomes a convention. Today, it is said, I have no right to comment, that even in the ashram we have become very conventional. Many people go to the samadhi more out of a habit than when they feel. And I know one gentleman who said, no, I will not do that. I will not go till I feel. So for a fortnight he didn't go. He felt miserable. So then he said, I know that what I'm doing is very genuine, right? It is based on a feeling, right? So when that feeling is lost, and when you go mechanically, it becomes a convention. And somebody came to me the other day, one of my students. So he said, you go and meet Manojda. I said, if Manojda wants to meet me, I'll meet him. So I went and met him. I said, you tell me what help you want, I'll give you whatever help you want. So he thought for some time and said, you go and sit in the teacher's room. Where Arati used to sit, you go and sit there. I said, I'll become a dummy. Sitting and doing what? So instead of that, I propose, now and then, once a month, twice a month, I will come to the school downstairs in the evening, after the sun is about to set, and we will talk to teachers who know nothing of Sri Aurobindo. There are teachers in the higher course who have not read one book. I will explain to them what Sri Aurobindo and Mother stood for and what, right? Similarly, I will explain to the many ashramites. All those who want to come are welcome. So that's a good idea. He said, we'll start from December 16th. I said, okay, as you like, right? So you see now this is the trouble that we tend to become conventional because it is much easier to come down than to go up. When the conventions become too strong, then the reason starts questioning everything. And that is the rational age. And that is exactly what happened in Europe when the church began to misuse its position and its power. They began to question. They began to question the church, and in Europe they went one step further, they questioned religion itself. And for some time religion was put on the wayside. Science developed, as Sri Aurobindo says, despite the loss of religion, they made tremendous progress in science, which has helped the whole world. And we should learn to take that part without giving up our true religion. So we can continue further. And India will not give up religion. It is so deeply rooted in the blood that right from my maidservant onwards to the most, except a small, what is now known as Lutyens group, who are so rational, right? But then a time comes when rationality doesn't satisfy. Something is missing. Because by reason you can explain one side, you can explain the other side. And Sri Aurobindo says in one of his writings or talks, the capital period of my intellectual development was when I saw the truth in one idea, and after a few days I saw the truth in the opposite idea. And in one stroke, the prestige of the intellect was gone. Because what do I do? In the room you can sit and talk on this side and this side. But when it comes to action, you can't do both. So then I realized that there must be a higher source of knowledge or we are doomed. I said, no, we are not doomed. There is a higher source of knowledge. And that is why he always says, I entered spirituality through the back door. Mother went in directly.
Rashmi has a question.
Kittu, I have a question. Can I ask you a question?
Come a little closer because I am a little deaf.
Can you tell me? Was Sri Aurobindo, when he wrote the human cycle, was he influenced by the romantic period writers of Europe, of the cycles of human society?
What is the question?
There were authors like Vico della Pino in Italy of the 18th or 19th century, and also Alfred de Musset from France around the 18th century.
He's speaking of the 18th century writers.
Of the 18th century.
18th century in Europe. Was Sri Aurobindo influenced by them?
No, when he was in England, right, for 14 years, he had no contact with India, no contact with spirituality, although he had some feeling at the age of 16 that he'll play a role in India's development. And he believed that it was going to be in the freedom of the nation, fighting for the freedom of the... Because he was categorical that the British have no right to rule us. Even if they are angels, we have to rule ourselves. That is important because self-government is far better than being governed by angels. So he was... And then when he came to India, he was not yet turned towards spirituality. And although he got some experiences, very tremendous peace when he landed in Bombay, Apollo Wonder, and a few experiences, one in Shankaracharya Hill, when he went to Kashmir with the Maharaja, when he went to that hill known as the Shankaracharya hill, felt a tremendous peace. Another time he went to a temple on the Narmada, Mahakali temple. Somebody took him because he said, I didn't believe in idol worship. And my God, lo and behold, with all my Western education was shattered in one blow. I saw Kali, the living goddess, telling me, here I am real, right? And he was completely bowled out. And the third one was in Baroda when he was traveling in a horse cart. There was certain to be an accident from the other side. At the last moment he saw a hand coming and removing that, and he was saved. So he said that gave me an idea that there must be something called above, but I was an agnostic, not an atheist.
Was he influenced at all by these writers of Europe?
By
the writers of Europe in the 18th century.
By the what?
Writers.
Writers of Europe.
European writers in the 18th century.
Yes, definitely, some parts, right? But because till the age of 21...
The question is not that, not by writers, by specific writers on the concept of human cycles, of the evolution.
You go closer and...
What is the question?
Speaking of those who were writing on the cycles of evolution in Europe, was he influenced by them?
He believed in Darwin's theory of evolution, but that was much more an evolution of the physical being. How the animal is on 4 feet, then man becomes straight, etc., etc. And the brain develops, it was a physical development. But Sri Aurobindo believed, after coming to India gradually, that is true, but more true is the evolution of consciousness. So you move from the material consciousness to the vegetable consciousness, to the animal consciousness, to the mental consciousness. And then he says, logically, why should I believe that is the end? There must be a higher consciousness. So even rationally, spiritual consciousness seemed to him, very legitimate. And then after having spiritual experiences, the supramental consciousness.
Shall we begin?
Okay, so now in the spiritual aim and life, I'll tell you a little more before. Human society goes through 3 stages: the infra-rational, the rational, and the supra-rational. This chapter deals with a society which is led by the supra-rational, which in theory, which Mother meant in practice, in the ashram, and also in Auroville, that you should be guided by your inner being. There she didn't use the word psychic being and soul, because they said it's a much wider group. But here in the ashram, categorically, the first foremost step is to be guided by your psychic being. Once you come in touch with your psychic being, the rest will follow. Right? So before that, nothing will happen. Overmind, supermind, these are all concepts only. It is good to have a clear mind. It is possible to have, through a development of the mind, to higher levels which open out to certain things. But safety lies in first getting in touch with the psychic being. Because there are dangers. You might go wrong a little bit here and there. You might be misled, not wrong, misled. But the psychic being is an unerring guide. So you must be aware, right? So society goes through infra-rational, rational and supra-rational. Today in the modern world, the whole world, except might be China and a few others, you have to explain everything by reason. No government, no head of the institution, no person who is in charge of anything can take a decision and not explain it rationally. And if I am not satisfied, I will go to court. Right? Right, wrong, whether you should have done or not is not my business. The point is that when you are guided by reason, this is exactly what happens. If we say that the ashram is guided by spirituality, even now, not in your personal life but in collective life, in the group life, then it's a different matter. Then it will mean that whoever is in charge has taken the place of the mother. But that people don't agree. They say like us might be a little better than us, but not good enough to be accepted as a guru. So it has to become rational. So today we are in the rational age. The question that is being asked here now, in our collective life here, should we be governed by reason or governed by spirituality? Collective life. My individual life, absolutely what I like. But in collective life. So now that is the problem of, is the ashram in the collective life a genuine spiritual organization? Or have we to take our decisions based on reason?
This is the same problem of Oroville.
Yes, exactly the same problem. And you see here, in the last few years not being well, Ratnadi not being well, I had a lot of contact with the doctors. The doctors are very interesting. Some more, some less. We believe in giving you medicine, and we can't deny Mother's grace, but medicine is most important. Other doctors say, we'll give you medicine, but we believe much more in the grace, and we'll try to reduce the medicine as soon as possible, and if possible, eliminate the medicine. And Dr. Archana always told me this. She is not here now, she has gone out because her husband is not well. She used to come to my class on Mondays. So she told me, depend on the mother. So you don't have to worry too much. Because the question of vaccine came. And I said, I have seen one sentence of Sri Aurobindo, one paragraph, where he was against vaccine. Now people tell me it is outdated and all that. So Archana said, I don't want to take vaccine. But they told me, if you don't take vaccine, we'll send you out of the department. One of the doctors, the important doctors, right? We'll send you out. So she had to take. I said, I won't take. And the school sent me a note that if the students have to come to your house, you must take a vaccine. I said, I won't take it, it's left to them. They all come. You see, so now, reason demands that we should take a vaccine according to the government of India. But people like Patty and many others refuse to take vaccine. So they tell me you're irrational.
But what do you foresee in December when you have to go into the school and speak to people?
So I raised up this question yesterday because my question was whether to open the exhibition hall or not. If the school opens, then we'll open the exhibition hall. So we asked Dilip, and Dilip said, on December 10th, I'll tell you. Because we are watching the situation. And if the school does not officially open at all levels. It is open now. Class age 15, 16 and higher course, right? 17, 18, 21. That is open. But for the children, it is not open. For the flower room, it is not open. For the kindergarten, it is not open. So that they will decide on December 10th, based on rationality. Right? So now we are moving to that state where we have to live based on spirituality. Now he points out that between a normal society and a spiritual society, there are two basic differences. The normal society is gregarious. If you want to punish somebody, you lock him up even in this room and no contact with TV, with newspaper, with any person. That's a punishment. That is because we are gregarious by instinct. At least for the normal man, which is 95 to 98%, that is a punishment. That is why this COVID, many people suffered simply by boredom and loneliness. Because there was nobody in their house. They are absolutely fed up. And that is why there are many mental cases because of COVID-19, right? So, the spiritual society and the normal society is gregarious, and the normal society knows only body, life, mind. Higher layers of mind also, but body, life, mind. The spiritual society is very selective in its company. That is why the mother used to tell us, even when we are young, even when I was 12 years and 13 years, not 7, 8, but 12, 13, don't go there. Don't mix with that person. He is a bad influence. Those who are very strong and inwardly developed, they can mix. But you keep out. Till I tell you that now it is safe, right? So we have to be very selective. And before the children came, my God, Nirodha's time, extremely selective in with whom you talk. So they would all walk on the beach, nobody talking to anybody. After some time they found it difficult, so some of them broke the rule. And then of course when they talk, it is all gossip. So Mrityunjay has written one thing, that when I used to go on the beach and walk, I used to expect that all would be silent. But I found many people sitting and talking. And I went near, they're gossiping about somebody else. So you see, when that urge to talk is not given free play, there is a chance that it might. So now the spiritual society will not be gregarious, and it will believe that everything has to be seen in the light of spirituality. Exactly what the ashram stands for. Every activity, from cleaning the vessels in dining room, from serving the food in dining room, right, has to be an offering to the mother. So the words were remember and offer. Remember all the time. The moment you are doing some activity, offer. So that is a fundamental approach of the spiritual life, of the spiritual society. Individually, I am certain and I know that there are many sadhaks here who are doing that. Collectively, they don't remember. And I used to go to Desiree regularly. These nurses, both ashram nurses and trained from outside, they would always tell me, I have not read Sri Aurobindo, I don't know, but I remember and offer. I remember and offer. And to every patient, I offer that patient to Sri Aurobindo. This I can tell you from experience. This is exactly what happened to Ratnadi. Ratnadi, when she was unwell, she was there, no?
Yes.
The nurses would come, look after her, caress her, gentle, say, we are offering you to the mother. You cannot imagine what a relief it is. And she had her favorite doctors, men who would say that openly and whom she believed they really did it. There are others whom she said that they are doing it mechanically. Anyway, that is a secondary thing. But the point is, remember and offer. So, in a spiritual society, every act that you do, everything must be remember and offer. So in a spiritual society, these are the two basic differences from a normal society. Gregarious, body, life, mind. Here it is selective company, selective friendship. And secondly, everything has to be done in the light of the Spirit. This is a whole chapter. So, and there he says a very important idea that in a spiritual society, the hallmark is freedom. Because I can't compel you to be spiritual. When you surrender, it must be a living and free surrender. If you read the Mother, you will find that it must be a living and a free surrender, not a compulsory surrender, right? In collective life, a certain amount of surrender is necessary, compulsive, like in dining room. You have to go at a certain time. But even there, Sri Aurobindo did not want that. He said that Bengalis eat their breakfast at 9:30, 10. Local people eat here at 7 o'clock. So when I fix a time, it might not suit somebody. So we will tell them that they can go when they want, but somebody has to keep their food. Because the dining room people can't be sitting there all day. So that food would be kept in a big almirah in one of the rooms. Sometimes these people do not come. Food is wasted. You have to throw it in the dustbin or you have to give it to somebody else, right? Then Sri Aurobindo said, I have to make rules. See, you must remember that rules did not come first. Because we misused our freedom, therefore rules had to come. And that is exactly what Sri Aurobindo wanted. A society with the minimum of rules, even in collective life, where you are spontaneously working together and in harmony, but then spontaneously working in harmony is possible only if you are in contact or trying to be in contact with a psychic being. So there are people who try, and they lose their temper, they speak not beautiful words. Afterwards, when they come back home, they are very miserable. They go and, I won't say apologize, but explain to the other person, please don't take it amiss. I am withdrawing all my words and I will try never again to do this kind of thing. See, now if this is done, then we are living in the true ashram. But then if I justify what I do, whatever I do is right, I will not accept any other opinion, right? Accepting any other opinion is not always possible. And since you are in charge, you know much better all that is happening than others. You can always listen to their opinion. It is very desirable to listen, but then you must be decisive. After listening to all the opinions, take a decision. Otherwise, collective life doesn't move. Otherwise, there is chaos, confusion, each one going his own way.
So, in the collective life, a group is formed.
Right?
A group is formed to hear everyone, and then
Yes.
the group has to make a decision.
And then the group has to make a decision. Ideal would be nobody in charge, and yet we can arrive at some kind of harmony, but that is a very distant dream. Therefore, you have to have an organization. Therefore, the ashram has got 5 trustees, right? Therefore, the department has got some heads, right? But otherwise, the ideal society, somehow or the other will manage everything.
I'm specifically looking at Oroville. I'm looking at Oroville.
Yeah.
And the only rule that Mother made was against drugs.
Against drugs.
Yes. But Oroville is having a tremendous problem.
I've got a student who is part of Oroville as well as he comes to my class. He's not part of ashram, but he comes to my class. He was an ex-student. And he says that very large number of people do not know what Oroville stands for, know nothing about Mother and Sri Aurobindo. And General Chatterjee gave a talk to you. I've seen that. He's a gentleman to the core, so he is very, very polite. He said, yes, there are different ways of looking at things. I respect all of them. But anybody who has any questions, I've called them on Wednesday, every Wednesday between 4 and 5, 4 and 5:30, they can come to my house. I discuss with them in the light of Sri Aurobindo as far as possible. But I never impose. I said, from the army where you used to impose everything, now you have swung to the other end where you are very gentle and very soft. Even now when he comes here, he drops in. A gentleman. So essentially the spiritual society, every action, every movement, inward and outward, has to be centered around your highest spiritual being, which is the psychic being. That is the security and safety that will protect you from all problems, including ill health. Every day Shalilari tells me you must come to nursing home. I said, not yet. I will tell you when it is absolutely impossible. When I can't walk anymore, then I'll come. But as long as I can walk and as long as I can do what I'm doing, I'm taking classes. Once I'm in nursing home, it is finished.
Without a mask.
Huh?
Without vaccination and without mask.
What?
Without a vaccination and without a mask.
No, mask I will wear. That I believe, although I forgot today. See how stupid I am. So, no, mask I wear always. So this is basically the idea that all our activities, as General Tiwari put it beautifully, remember and offer. Remember and offer. And he tried to do that right till the end of his life. And very interestingly, his wife was 10 years younger than him, died on the same day at the same age, because they were born on the same day. So they died 10 years apart, but exactly on the same day. So evidently they were very, very close in their consciousness. And their daughters, Deepthi and Shubha, I think, she was my student, very bright. So the spiritual society is to be one where every one of our acts, both in individual and collective life, must be remembered and offered. And if you forget, make it up. Because it is natural as human beings who have a big lower nature, right, to forget. And that is why for a very long time, Sri Aurobindo did not allow immature people to come. He was very strict in his. But then at a certain stage, and I was the first child to be allowed here. In fact, before me was Kittu, but you know Kittu, Asta's brother. But he was in and out. I stayed here. I stayed here since 80 years. And one of the reasons which mother gave to Pranabda afterwards, that why you have allowed so many persons to come. Mother said, look, our yoga is in life. If you are isolated with only seekers, you are not tested. Now you are in the midst of life. You get food that you want, you get this, you get that, you get that. Okay, so this is a basic idea. So he says that since liberty is the hallmark of a spiritual society, you must have the liberty even to deny God. Your art need not reflect in any way any spiritual aspiration, till you yourself realize that I must move to that higher state. Because spirituality cannot be done by rules and by imposition. Right? It has to be done by spontaneous self-giving of the whole inner being, Whole inner being, a whole being, impossible. Because we are evolutionary creatures and the animal nature is there in us. It is very, very strong. And that is why at the early stages, I did not encourage, but now I am allowing, because I want those who are sincere, genuine, to be able to pass through the touchstone of temptation and greed and bad influences. It's a real battle. So mother says, I can count on my fingers. She told Pranabda, I can count on my fingers. She said, there might be two more people who are doing yoga here. Right? Integral yoga. Some kind of yoga they are doing. Like in outside the genuine seekers, they all get a very deep contact. But they get cut off from life. Because the moment they come into life, these things pull you down. And she always gave you a chance. She would tell all of us, all my age group, that you make a mistake or do things that are wrong without understanding the consequences, I'll pardon you. But when you have come to me and pointed it out to me, and you have realized that it is wrong and you still do it, then there is something very perverse in you. There is a very bad ill will. That I can't accept. That is not right. But then why do I tolerate you? It is because others are being tested. Because it is in life, no? If it is isolated, it is not in life. So today you have to face everything. Right? And the three things that are very difficult is power, money and sex.
You have so much world experience. Could you just share a few moments on India and America?
India and America, I have been to America once for 1 month, stayed in Eastern America and Chicago mainly. I didn't go to California and all those areas, but these. I found the Americans very individualistic, right? But at the same time very open, right? They were individualistic, but not, they respected your individuality. And that is something which I like. You are individual, but you don't try to suppress and dominate other individuals. This is a certain European quality, both in Europe, in England especially, and in America. It is very strong. They respect your individuality, but they believe in their own individuality. And I have many American friends, somebody in Georgia, somebody in Chicago and all that. So, no, I believe that India and America should come together because in the fundamentals, we are together. And this movement that is now taking place between Biden and Narendra Modi is very healthy. And especially on the military and this Quad or something like that they have started, it is good. Because we cannot allow China to take over the world and the South Pacific. As Mother said, she went to Mongolia and China and she said, these people come from the moon. It is not physically so, but something so cold about them, so cruel. I mean, the kind of punishment that they can give, I can't imagine.
You feel there is some collaboration between India? Is there some collaboration between India now and America?
Definitely. Very definite. Very positive. On the military aspect, very certain. On the trade aspect, also happening. That's why in Sri Aurobindo's, the message to America, which he sent in 1949, something like that, right? It was very clear that we have the same ideals, we have the same goals, so we must learn to work together. Without losing our individuality, we have spirituality, you have practical wisdom. Technologies are always miles ahead of everybody else, right? And we have spirituality. So as General Joshi says, that we will give them our spirituality and we'll take from them their practicality. A very important thing.